Yeah, well, I'm just obviously really thankful for Gainbridge and everything that they do, not only in women's sports, but just sports in general. It's tremendous, and I feel very lucky to be a partner of theirs, and sports unites people, and that's kind of what this feels like, too. It's just bringing people together where they can find joy in something.
Caitlin Clark just did what even Tiger Woods couldn't. One swing, one record, and one jaw-dropping moment that left the entire golf world in disbelief. Fans screamed, cameras flashed, and even Tiger himself looked on, speechless. But the real shock isn't just that Caitlin Clark broke a golf world record. It's who stayed silent while the world cheered. It all began on a breezy Friday morning at the RSM Classic Pro-Am, a friendly celebrity golf tournament that suddenly turned into a worldwide event. It wasn't supposed to be special, just a relaxed off-season moment for athletes and celebrities. But then one name appeared on the lineup, Caitlin Clark, and that changed everything.
They are going to do what's best for business. Unlike the WNBA, let's be clear here. It's just so funny, and I said this in a video before. Every league understands the value of Caitlin Clark. Every single league, and we're going to get into this article. Every single league, from Major League Baseball, the NFL, the NBA, everybody seems to understand the value that Caitlin Clark brings to the table, except guess who? Except who? The league she plays in, the WNBA. Kathy, in my opinion, this is the reason you gotta go.
By sunrise, fans were already lined up outside the gates. Golf tickets sold out faster than ever before. For the first time in the tournament's history, there were more Caitlin Clark jerseys than golf hats in the crowd. Every camera, every reporter, every fan. They weren't there for Tiger or for any LPGA legend. They were there for her. When the announcer's voice echoed through the speakers, from the University of Iowa, now representing the Indiana Fever, please welcome Caitlin Clark. The crowd erupted, but then came silence. You could hear the wind brushing through the grass. She took her stance, steady and calm. And when she swung, boom! The sound of that first drive echoed like thunder, straight, clean, powerful. Her very first shot landed beyond 270 yards. Reporters rushed in, fans screamed, cameras flashed. Tiger Woods smiled from the sidelines. Steph Curry turned to a reporter and said, "That's the best first swing I've ever seen." And just like that, the basketball queen was suddenly the hottest name in golf. Golf Digest called her the most natural crossover athlete since Michael Jordan. ESPN's headline read, "Caitlin Clark just changed golf forever." But while the golf world opened its arms to her, the WNBA world grew strangely quiet. As the internet exploded with clips of her perfect drive, fans began to notice something. Some of Caitlin's biggest rivals, Angel Reese, Aja Wilson, even a few WNBA teammates, had said nothing. No tweets, no congratulations, just silence. It felt familiar. Because all season long, Caitlin had been criticized, fouled hard, and at times ignored by her own league. Many fans believed the WNBA was trying to quiet the noise, to limit her spotlight instead of celebrating it. Now, the same athlete they once tried to humble was breaking records in a different sport. And the people who once called her privileged suddenly had nothing to say. As one fan commented, every media outlet in the world is talking about Caitlin Clark, and the WNBA still acts like she doesn't exist. Meanwhile, the golf community embraced her like a hero. LPGA star Nelly Korda walked right up to Caitlin and said, "You're welcome here, you belong here." Another pro, Maria Fassi, told reporters, "Caitlin's energy is pure. She brings a fire we've been missing." In basketball, she'd been treated like an outsider. In golf, she was treated like royalty. And that contrast between rejection and recognition only made her next moment even more historic. Hole 7, a par 4, where even pros sometimes missed the green. The crowd went silent again. Caitlin Clark adjusted her stance, her eyes locked on the flag. The wind picked up. She exhaled one deep breath and swung. The ball soared through the air like it was guided by destiny. It landed perfectly on the fairway, rolled, and stopped within inches of the cup. Gasps, cheers, pure chaos. Commentators couldn't believe it. She wasn't just good, she was elite. When the round ended, Caitlin finished 13 under par, breaking the Pro-Am's all-time record. Let that sink in. A basketball player walked into golf and broke a world record on her very first try. Tiger Woods, standing off to the side, told reporters, "That was one of the cleanest, most confident swings I've ever seen from a non-pro." And Steph Curry joked on Twitter, "Caitlin Clark might just be better than me at this point." Within minutes, Caitlin Clark Golf was trending #1 worldwide. Golf Digest, ESPN, Bleacher Report. Every outlet had the same headline. She did what Tiger Woods never could. But it wasn't just about the swing. It was about what it represented. Event organizers said ticket demand increased 1,200% the moment Caitlin was announced. Everywhere she goes, the numbers follow. Attendance, ratings, merchandise. They call it the Caitlin effect. And this time, even Tiger Woods was part of it. Later that day, Caitlin sat down for an interview. She smiled and said, "I came here just to have fun, but I guess I can't stop competing." Her parents watched proudly from the crowd, tears in their eyes. Her mom said, every time she picks up something new, she gives her whole heart to it. And that's the difference. While others tried to tear her down, Caitlin just kept showing up, proving that greatness doesn't depend on where you play, but how you play. In basketball, she was criticized for stealing headlines. In golf, she was celebrated for making history. She didn't switch sports, she switched the narrative. Because here's the truth, Caitlin Clark didn't just hit a record-breaking shot. She shattered expectations again. And in doing so, she reminded the world what real talent looks like when it's not held back by politics or jealousy. That single drive wasn't just a highlight, it was a statement. For years, people have told female athletes to stay in their lane, but Caitlin Clark just showed the world that there is no lane. She's not just a basketball player anymore. She's a movement, a living, breathing example of what happens when you refuse to be boxed in. So now the question is, will she train with golf pros? Could she compete in future PGA or LPGA events? Or is this just the beginning of something even bigger? Because if this was just a casual day off, imagine what happens when she actually tries. Caitlin Clark didn't just swing a golf club. She swung open a door. For every woman who's ever been told, you don't belong here. And she didn't need a league, a coach, or a spotlight to do it. Just her drive, literally. If you're still watching, drop GOATSWING in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe, because this isn't the end of Caitlin Clark's story. It's just the beginning of her legend.
The biggest hurdle that Caitlin Clark needs to overcome is her head coach. The biggest obstacle holding Caitlin Clark back from picking up where she left off after her rookie season, after her career at Iowa, the biggest obstacle in the way of her returning to that form is her head coach. Now, we saw Stephanie White lose the battle to the WNBA mob long ago. If you can't beat them, join them. And Stephanie White has joined them.
The Indiana Fever locker room just exploded. And at the center of it all is Caitlin Clark's relationship that no one saw coming. For weeks, the internet has been buzzing with rumors, whispers, and wild speculation about tension inside the Fever. Fans were convinced something had gone wrong between Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell. Some said jealousy, others said betrayal. But the real story is far more shocking.
Well, my goodness, this is rather interesting that Sue Bird has brought this up to Kelsey Mitchell in light of some of the drama from a couple of days ago when Stephanie White was very clear and there was no confusion looking at anybody out there, including people on YouTube, that may think that was misconstrued, even though Stephanie White is the one that said these things.
It started with a few simple words from head coach Stephanie White, words that instantly tore the locker room in half. In one moment, the coach declared Kelsey Mitchell as the team's absolute priority. The reaction? Chaos. Fans flooded social media asking, "What about Caitlin Clark?" How could a generational star, the biggest name in women's basketball, suddenly feel like an afterthought?
But what people have been pointing out lately is that Stephanie White's allegiance to Kelsey Mitchell, Stephanie White's allowance of Kelsey Mitchell to have a green light we could only dream that Caitlin Clark has. And I'm a Money Mitch guy. You know I'm a Money Mitch, put him in a ditch. You know I love Money Mitch. But this is true. Kelsey Mitchell's green light is far greener than Caitlin Clark's. Kelsey Mitchell's able to get away with things on the basketball court that Caitlin Clark cannot get away with because of the green light that Stephanie White has given her.
But what if this entire relationship shocker was never about a feud at all, but a story of trust, respect, and leadership, completely twisted by public perception? Because once you hear what really happened behind closed doors, everything changes. It all began when Stephanie White faced the media, confidently naming Kelsey Mitchell as her top focus for the future.
With the offseason too, Amber mentioned in her exit interview that the number one priority was to land Kelsey in free agency again. Just how important was she to your team this year? How important has she been to the Fever? Obviously, the 8 years she's been with the franchise, and how badly do you want to keep her around?
I mean, yeah, she was the number one priority a year ago, and she's the number one priority this year. She's been so important. And, I said this last year, Kelsey deserves to go through this stage of her Indiana Fever career.
Her words hit like a wrecking ball. Fans were stunned. Analysts compared it to the Chicago Bulls building around Scottie Pippen instead of Michael Jordan, a clear mismatch in logic. The Indiana Fever had Caitlin Clark, a once-in-a-generation Jordan-level talent. And yet, the message from leadership seemed to say otherwise. Instantly, the internet took sides. Clark supporters felt betrayed. Mitchell loyalists defended their star. And the WNBA community started speculating about a possible feud between the two guards. The narrative exploded. The coach had chosen her favorite, and now the team chemistry was doomed. But what people didn't know was that behind the scenes, the truth looked completely different. Because while the media tried to paint Caitlin Clark as the rising diva and Kelsey Mitchell as the overlooked veteran, both players were quietly proving the opposite. When the tension reached its boiling point, Sue Bird stepped in. On her Bird's Eye View podcast, she sat down with Kelsey Mitchell to address the elephant in the room, the so-called relationship drama. Everyone expected fireworks. Instead, they got honesty. Kelsey Mitchell didn't dodge the question. She didn't blame anyone. Instead, she spoke from the heart. She said that when Caitlin Clark joined the team, the entire organization had to adjust. The spotlight was blinding. The media attention was overwhelming. But through all of it, Caitlin never acted like she was bigger than the program. In Kelsey's own words, she never tried to take over. She wasn't trying to be bigger than anybody.
I talked to, the Fever organization about this. It's like I think it was an adjustment period that, we all should have adjusted to throughout the course of the organization. I think that, that was big for everybody. Pacers Entertainment, Fever organization. I felt like at that time, there was a lot of, role playing that had to be, situated. I feel like, when something that big or someone that big who has that much impact comes into something, there are a lot of adjustments that people have to make on the floor, off the floor, in the locker room, in the training room. Just a lot of stuff is a lot of moving parts. And I think the biggest part that I respected about Caitlin is that she never was bigger than the program. I don't know if that makes sense, but it wasn't like she wasn't trying to take over. It wasn't, I don't know how to explain that. You know what I'm trying to say though?
Those simple sentences flipped the entire story upside down because the supposed rivalry was actually a partnership, one built on mutual respect and shared love for the game. Mitchell described Clark as like my little sister. They joked, practiced together, pushed each other to be better.
The time I've spent with Caitlin, like, she definitely has, like, oh, you're like my little sister.
Yes.
Because she likes to, like, you know, talk about
She plays a
basketball
lot.
and kind of troll a little bit.
My
Yeah,
goodness.
exactly.
You talk about a kid in the candy store, that's Caitlin.
What fans thought was animosity was actually chemistry, the kind of relationship that turns good teams into great ones. On the court, that chemistry was undeniable. Clark's deep shooting and elite passing opened space for Mitchell's quick scoring bursts. Together, they became one of the most dangerous backcourts in the league. And when Clark was sidelined with injury, the numbers told the story. Aaliyah Boston's production dropped dramatically without Clark feeding her the ball. The Fever's rhythm disappeared. Clark wasn't just a scorer. She was the team's catalyst. And Kelsey knew it. But in Clark's absence, Mitchell carried the entire franchise on her shoulders. She grinded through games, playing massive minutes, sometimes until she literally collapsed from exhaustion. This was no feud. This was sacrifice. It became painfully clear that while the players had built something powerful, the organization around them was the real problem. Fans felt deceived. The Fever were accused of hiding details about Clark's injury to keep selling tickets. Thousands of supporters spent money hoping to see their star return, only to watch the team stay silent week after week. The trust between the franchise and its fans began to crack. Online, fans weren't just angry about Caitlin's health. They were furious at the entire management. The same people who preached team unity were now the ones sowing division through mixed messages and secrecy. Meanwhile, Clark and Mitchell stayed united. Even when outsiders doubted them, their friendship never wavered. Clark praised Mitchell publicly. Mitchell defended Clark privately. Together, they proved what everyone on the outside refused to see. The real relationship shocker wasn't between the players. It was between the truth and the media's obsession with drama. As one analyst put it, the Fever's stars fit perfectly. It's management that doesn't. And that single line summed up the entire situation. The players were aligned, the fans were passionate, but leadership seemed lost. And now, as Kelsey Mitchell's free agency looms, that tension could define the Fever's entire future. Will she stay loyal to her sisterhood with Caitlin Clark, or walk away from a team that can't get out of its own way? In the end, the real story of Caitlin Clark's relationship shocker isn't one of betrayal or jealousy. It's about perception, it's about leadership, and it's about how easily the truth can get lost in the noise. Because when Stephanie White made her comments, fans only heard one thing: disrespect toward their hero. But what she may have meant as support for a veteran quickly spiraled into chaos, amplified by headlines hungry for clicks. Yet, through all of that noise, the people inside the locker room, the ones who actually mattered, stayed together. Kelsey Mitchell stood by Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark continued to uplift her teammates. And Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey, and Caitlin formed one of the most dangerous trios in the entire league. They proved that what really ruins teams isn't relationships between players. It's the relationships between truth and perception. The Indiana Fever could become the face of women's basketball for an entire generation. But that will only happen if the organization stops creating chaos where there is none, and finally starts building around the star who changed everything. Because at this point, Caitlin Clark isn't just part of the Fever, she is the Fever. And if the franchise forgets that, it won't be her relationships that ruin everything. It'll be theirs. If you're still watching, drop Clark forever in the comments.
We didn't have a lot of ego in our group, and I think that was the game changer. And I think going into 2025, you got to think about that. Sorry. It dropped.
Kelsey Mitchell just said the quiet part out loud, and it might have just broken Caitlin Clark. It happened during an interview that was supposed to be lighthearted, but what Kelsey said about her own teammate set the entire WNBA on fire.
All right, we have no other than Kelsey Pistol Mitchell live on the Sue Bird podcast, I believe Bird's Eye View, and she's addressing what it's like being Caitlin Clark's teammate, the fit on the floor. How are you fitting on the floor? Is this something that can work going forward?
She didn't just talk about basketball. She hinted at leadership problems, chemistry issues, and something much deeper, a growing divide inside the Indiana Fever locker room. And fans immediately caught it, because behind Kelsey's calm voice and careful phrasing, there was something sharp, something personal. When she said what she said, she wasn't just talking about the team. She was talking about Caitlin Clark and how she never tried to be bigger than anyone else.
In your locker room. So what do you think, or do you feel like people sometimes just like overlook your leadership specifically and your impact on the team from like a chemistry standpoint, because there's just so many narratives? So like, do you think people are overlooking that?
I think that in a short, yeah. I think naturally, yes, because of the society, the social media, and how bad, people take to social media and abuse it in the wrong realm of light. And so I think that's one part of it. But I also think that it was an adjustment period. And I talked to, the FIBA organization about this. It's like I think it was an adjustment period that, we all should have adjusted to throughout the course of the organization. I think that, that was big for everybody. Pacers Entertainment, FIBA organization. I felt like at that time, there was a lot of,
Yeah, there has to be an adjustment. You got the biggest star in women's sports coming onto the team. And it's now, and wherever she go, it's her show. So everybody got to find a role. Batman is there. You can be Robin, or y'all got to figure out what y'all gonna be. It's as simple as that. But obviously there's a huge adjustment when Caitlin Clark joins the team. It sounds like Kelsey Mitchell had conversations with the ownership or the higher ups about what was about to take place or what was taking place.
At first, it sounded respectful, but if you listen closely, that's not praise. That's a warning shot. See, that phrase, not being bigger than the team, is code. It means Caitlin didn't take over. She didn't force her will. She didn't act like the generational talent she is. And to many, that sounded like Kelsey calling her soft.
FIBA organization, I felt like at that time, there was a lot of, role playing that had to be, situated. I feel like, when something that big or someone that big who has that much impact comes into something, there are a lot of adjustments that people have to make on the floor, off the floor, in the locker room, in the training room. Just a lot of stuff is a lot of moving parts. And I think the biggest part that I respected about Caitlin is that
everybody needed to play their role, including you. And you know what sucks is I feel like not the first year when you first, because Erica Wheeler was doing a lot of bonehead stuff that first year too, but she was a good teammate. That post-Olympic break, man, you and Caitlin Clark was like peanut butter and jelly, man. It was like, I'm saying, it was like butter on toast. It was magical.
Think about it. Every basketball dynasty was built around one player refusing to blend in. Michael Jordan didn't worry about being bigger than the Bulls. LeBron didn't hold back when he joined Miami. Kobe didn't ask permission to lead. They took control. They demanded excellence. They made their teams rise to their level. But Kelsey Mitchell? She basically said Caitlin Clark came in too quiet, too respectful, too eager to fit in.
She never was bigger than the program. I don't know if that makes sense, but like, it wasn't like she wasn't trying to take over. It wasn't, I don't know how to explain that. You know what I'm trying to say though?
Yeah, no, I know what you're trying to say. It's like she knows who she is. She comes in. She's going to obviously do her part because that's what being a professional athlete is. But with the understanding of fitting into a team, making sure we fit, making sure we have chemistry. So it's never bigger than like the group
it's like
itself.
She wasn't trying to be bigger than everybody.
See, because she know Caitlin is comfortable with who she is. She knows she the biggest thing moving and smoking. Like she don't have to come be arrogant. She's not an arrogant person. So she's not gonna be that way with you guys. But y'all need to play y'all role though. Like understand why all these cameras is around. Understand why all these people are here. Y'all gotta understand that.
The irony? That humility is exactly what made Caitlin so beloved in college. But in the pros, it's becoming her biggest weapon and her biggest weakness. Because here's the truth. The Indiana Fever had 5 months to prepare for the most famous rookie in women's basketball history. 5 months to build a system that could maximize her passing, her shooting, and her leadership. And yet when Caitlin arrived, the team looked lost. Roles weren't clear. The offense didn't fit. And players like Kelsey were left to adjust on the fly. So what happened? Caitlin Clark walked into a locker room where veterans expected her to earn respect instead of being given control. The organization treated her like a rookie when she was already the most important player in the league. And that tension between talent and hierarchy is tearing the Fever apart from the inside. When Kelsey called Caitlin her little sister, it sounded friendly. But in sports, that's hierarchy talk. It means I've been here longer. You still have things to learn.
The time I've spent with Caitlin, like she definitely has like, oh, you're like my little sister.
Yes.
Because she likes to like, you know, talk about
She plays a
basketball
lot.
and kind of troll a little bit.
My
Yeah,
goodness.
exactly.
You're talking about a kid in the candy store? That's Caitlin.
Except Caitlin isn't just any rookie. She's the most accomplished player to ever enter the WNBA. She broke every major college record. She sells out every arena she walks into. She's not supposed to fit in. She's supposed to lead. And that's the problem. The Fever didn't build a team around Caitlin Clark. They made her adjust to them. Head coach Stephanie White even said publicly that her priority was Kelsey Mitchell, not the rookie who transformed the entire league's viewership overnight. Imagine being the face of women's basketball, and your own coach says you're not the priority. Meanwhile, Kelsey was being given full freedom, more shots, more control, more space to dominate. And Caitlin? She was stuck trying to make it all work without stepping on toes. For a while, it did work. After the Olympic break, when they finally started letting Caitlin run the offense, the Fever looked unstoppable. They were dropping 100 points a game. Caitlin was dishing out double-digit assists, and Kelsey was thriving alongside her. But as soon as things shifted back to the old hierarchy, the chemistry vanished. And now, with one interview, Kelsey has reminded everyone where she thinks she stands. She's the veteran. Caitlin's the rookie. And the Fever's leadership seems fine keeping it that way. But that dynamic doesn't last forever. Caitlin Clark is in a no-win situation. When she takes over, she's called selfish. When she passes too much, she's called soft. And when she tries to keep the peace, the team still implodes. She's stuck in a system that refuses to evolve. Meanwhile, fans can see it plain as day. The offense doesn't fit her strengths. The plays don't showcase her range. The spacing doesn't work. And somehow, when things go wrong, the blame still falls on her. That's not leadership. That's sabotage disguised as teamwork. Think about how great teams handled superstars. The Warriors didn't ask Steph Curry to tone it down. They rebuilt the entire system around him. The Lakers didn't make Kobe fit in. They gave him the keys. The Fever? They've done the opposite. They're protecting egos instead of greatness. And you can feel the frustration building. Caitlin's too professional to say it out loud, but her body language says it all. The sighs, the forced smiles, the quiet moments on the bench, while Kelsey runs isolation, plays that stall the offense. It's not about jealousy, it's about respect. Caitlin Clark deserves to lead this team. She's earned it. But instead, she's being treated like a guest in her own house. So where does this go next? Kelsey just signed a 1-year deal. She's betting on herself, on being the #1 option. Stephanie White has doubled down, saying publicly that Kelsey is still her priority. That leaves Caitlin with 3 options. She can keep being the ultimate team player, defer, stay quiet, hope things magically click. That's the safe choice, the nice girl route. But it leads to mediocrity, not legacy. Or she can demand change. Tell the front office that this system isn't working, insist the offense runs through her, and risk being labeled difficult. That's the bold choice, the one that great players eventually have to make. And then there's the third option, the nuclear one. Leave. Force a trade. Find a team that actually understands what they have. Build a dynasty somewhere else. Because if we've learned anything from sports history, it's that greatness doesn't wait for permission. Jordan didn't. Kobe didn't. LeBron didn't. Every legend faces that moment. The moment where being liked and being great no longer mean the same thing. Caitlin Clark is standing at that exact crossroads right now. Will she keep fitting in, or will she finally take over? Because if she does, everything changes. For Indiana, for the WNBA, and for every young girl watching her story unfold. If you're still watching, drop "Clark deserves better" in the comments.